We are players first and players always.
We defy the odds with passion and dispel stereotypes with integrity.
We are fearless, adventurous,
defiant, and unstoppable.
We are the pioneers of next.
We are the future they're afraid of.
We are the wave they can't escape.
We belong to the complex generation that is
being raised and nurtured by the game.
We exist for the players.
Your 2014 World Champion winners here.
The fans. The innovators.
Complexity, they're going to take down the Nexus.
The rebels.
The outliers.
Complexity becomes the Trinity Series champion.
This is our movement.
Our culture.
Our time.
This is our game.
From an investment startup to complexity gaming, Mobile Matt has been a pioneer for the mobile esports industry. This is the story from its early beginnings to the current scene now and what his thoughts on the future of mobile esports are. This is the story of Mobile Matt. In 2016, Matt ventured into the mobile esports scene with a startup and a passion. His first venture would be within the game Clash Royale.
Sure. So I actually have a bit of an unorthodox path. I got involved actually in 2016 on the business side. I was working at the time as entrepreneur in residence for an investment firm and tech incubator, and got the opportunity actually to start an in-house startup using our own development resources and capital. And I got the nod to basically start whatever type of company I wanted, and took a bit of a risk and started an esports company. So that was actually a coaching platform called Mastery. And at that time, again, there was just very little going on in the mobile esports scene, but I actually chose to launch that company in Clash Royale, as that was a game at the time that I really understood well, and I wanted to make sure I got the company off on the right footing. But that was really kind of how I got involved. And because of that timing, I was actually one of the first people to undertake a lot of initiatives in mobile esports. Just with being the first endemic sponsor in Clash Royale, also got the opportunity to launch the first contracted professional team in Clash Royale, and have been involved in that game ever since. As a game that I just care so much about personally, and have spent countless hours and nights working on stuff just to help the esports scene grow from a really granular level, the community level. And then suddenly here we are now with this fully sanctioned Clash Royale league, which is a team-based league with a $1 million prize pool that is really heavily supported by Supercell. And I'm just so blown away, absolutely blown away. I have to pinch myself sometimes, honestly, that I'm part of this, and so fortunate as well to be working with Complexity Gaming as their director of mobile gaming, to be able to lead our entry into that game and some other mobile titles as well. Going back to the really early stages of when I got involved in Clash Royale, again, I was one of the first people, and the company was the first endemic sponsor in the scene. So everything was basically an experiment, and I was able to cast a lot of bets and test the waters on things like hosting events on Twitch, or creating sponsored YouTube content, or some things that are specific to the game or specific to the mobile platform. And it was a really enlightening and exciting time for me personally, just as an entrepreneur, being able to test out all these things and evaluate what's working, and funneling more resources into things that are. And obviously with the professional team as well, that was just something that I took so much pride in leading this group of young guys that are really mature and the first professionals, right? So they were so eager to really turn this into a career for themselves, and that motivation and inspiration has really carried with me the whole way.
As esports and mobile esports continue to grow, there are certainly hurdles when discussing this with other people who are not familiar with what gaming and professional gaming is.
Oh, that's certainly true. And again, I'm coming from an investment firm that had no history in esports. I had to be the one to pitch internally and educate them on what video gaming is and how this is an actual business opportunity. So, but also every step of the way with initiatives that I undertake, it's just something that people that I feel like have been in esports for a while just understand and become accustomed to, because you're always going to encounter people that don't know what esports are or just aren't familiar with gaming because they're not a gamer themselves. You're inevitably going to work with companies like that, commonly even with sponsors, perhaps non-endemic companies. Got to be able to educate them and just have the patience also to, explain things simply, right? Like we say, if you really truly understand something, you're able to explain it very simply, right? To the point where, you're able to educate and teach people. So that's something that I think is a valuable skill as well. So there's now 3 esports right now that are mobile games that have over $1 million prize pools, which, first of all, that is incredible in and of itself. But what most excites me is actually that we've still not even scratched the surface of what the mobile esports industry is going to turn into. Even in these 3 premier mobile esports titles, people are continuing to really figure out how it works and what makes mobile as a platform different from these other, PC or console-based esports scenes. And there's a lot that I think is going to happen in the very near future here that is going to open some eyes. And I think also, going back to that lack of understanding or that stigma, perhaps, mobile also somewhat gets that from the broader esports industry. There's a lot of people that play PC or console games that look down upon mobile as a platform, and it's, no fault of their own. It's just how, they've perceived mobile as a platform. And again, we got to innovate and really break down the barriers and prove by way of results, right? And showing by example how that perception is wrong. So I think that's going to be a big part of my work over the next couple of years.
With new games on the horizon such as Call of Duty Mobile, there's definitely plenty of opportunity to build yourself as a content creator and a pro player.
That is one of the hot topics right now in mobile. You're even kind of getting the sense among people who have already been involved in mobile FPS games, right? Like Critical Ops, like PUBG Mobile now. And there's a lot of people that are kind of, waiting for that game, Call of Duty Mobile, to launch globally. Then they're going to jump to it, or at least test the waters, put out content and grind it, try to become one of the best players in the world. And I think more than anything, that is probably what signals to me the most that this game could potentially be a huge success. Because you can't fake that kind of enthusiasm and that kind of hype, right? I mean, there are games that launch and then also launch large esports events or tournaments in addition to that to try to get people to play and incentivize them and pull them in. But when you already have people who, without Tencent even doing anything, can't wait for this game to launch, I mean, that really says something right there. I think that every person's path is going to be different. And that's because I've seen players be successful all across the world, right? People that live in every single region, that are of every single age, right? People who are in their 40s and have kids are very successful in esports as content creators, and people who are 13 or 14 years old can still be successful and do things at an incredible age like that. So I don't think that there's any quote unquote cookie cutter model for each person, but at the same time, that internal drive really matters. Beyond that, the most important piece of advice that I give to people is make sure you find a small group around you of like-minded people that are going to motivate you and that you're going to be able to, sharpen your skills along with, right? Like the iron sharpens iron analogy. Because if you can find a small group like that where your goals are aligned and you work really well together, and people who enjoy learning is a big qualitative factor as well, then you're going to be on a trajectory for success in no time. Based on what I have seen across, a variety of mobile games, the people who are now in a position of security and sustainability, the ones with channels that, are consistently getting views, the players who are consistently at the top of the game, they just have this internal motivation that, they want to really crush it, right? Whether that's being a player, they want to be the best. So they're willing to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning in their local time so that they can scrim on the Asian server of their game, right? A lot of PUBG Mobile players do that. These are the people that want to commit to doing daily video uploads on their YouTube channel, right? So I know some even that are doing 2 videos a day, which is wild. But you can't, that level of commitment has to come internally. And, the role of an organization or, whomever else in the scene that ends up working with that individual, their role is to fuel that fire. But that fire needs to be there in the first place. So absolutely, that drive and internal motivation is absolutely essential to success.
With the mobile scene still growing, Matt took it upon himself to launch some initiatives to help continue the scene's success and growth.
So just right off the top, you mentioned Swipe, which is a mobile gaming peripheral product company. So if you liken that to something in the broader esports ecosystem, you think of companies like Logitech, like HyperX, like Razer, who are creating these gaming mouses and keyboards. Well, what is that company going to look like for the mobile esports industry? Because to the extent that there are going to be people that want to play mobile games competitively, perhaps there is also going to be a market for performance products. So it's something that I really haven't seen too much involvement in from companies. There's a handful obviously that are getting involved right now, but I really want to innovate from that perspective as well. So, the next company you mentioned was the Mobile Esports Lab, which is a bit of a holding company. I use that for consulting in the esports industry, and then as well as just kind of like an investment firm where I can place some bets as well in other companies that I see. And it also is a sponsorship agency, so the first mobile esports sponsorship agency, where we are able to work with companies to develop marketing campaigns and sponsorship activations that are customized for their brand and their goals, and pair that with some really innovative activations in the mobile esports scene. I think the most important thing that we can be doing right now as a mobile esports industry is just sharing knowledge. Because with every new game that comes up, and there's a lot, are a lot of new people to the scene who may not know how esports works, or may not know how exactly they can position themselves for success as the game grows. So more than anything, I just want to get back and share some general knowledge about how esports works and what people can be doing. So I put out an application actually for people to join a mentorship program. I was just blown away actually. Got something like 140 responses and chose 6 people actually to be able to work over the next couple months to help them innovate in mobile esports. I really think that it's general knowledge and just bringing people together that has the biggest impact, right? Which is, again, why that piece of advice is just find a great small group. So I also ended up flipping that into a Discord server for people who are innovating in mobile esports, which I'd be happy to invite anybody listening to this as well, if you're interested in getting into the mobile esports yourself. But yeah, I got to get a quick shout out here to the 6 mentees here, Brown, G-Bay, Hot, Mooney, Sakumai, and Spider, who are doing great things, and as well, actually Complexity's Clash Royale coach, Kyle, who's helping me mentor them as well.
Throughout his journey, Matt has joined one of the biggest orgs in North America and the world in Complexity Gaming, as well as learned so many valuable things as far as networking and joining others who share the same passion and vision.
It's just been so eye-opening. I mean, I just feel like a sponge that is trying to soak up as much knowledge about how Tier 1 esports works, because I felt like I had a good grasp on mobile esports from my work, as an endemic influencer and stuff in the scene. But as soon as I joined Complexity in April of last year, it was just, absolutely remarkable. This organization has been around for 16 years now. Was the first esports organization in North America to have a gaming house, the first to bring an esports athlete over with a P1 visa, and just so much history and legacy here, and people also involved in the organization who are just the utmost professionals in their craft. And obviously with people like Jason Lake involved, who is a founding father of the esports industry as a whole, I've just been so fortunate to be able to learn from this organization. One thing that's really unique about the esports industry, and especially true for mobile, is that this scene is just constantly evolving, right? Again, every new game that comes up is completely different. And the way that one is going to have success, whether that's a player or an organization even, is going to depend entirely on how that game and esport is uniquely set up, right? So there is just no one model that works for everything. So you've got to always keep your eyes open, keep talking to new people and learning from their experience. And I just really enjoy that as well. Just meeting motivated people like yourself in the mobile esports scene, because we're going to be the ones again that are going to have to make sure that this industry grows for everybody. And that's my passion for doing things like this mentorship program, is that I want to really inspire a culture in mobile esports where people can work together and raise the tide overall. As far as accolades, I mean, I'm obviously just really proud of our Clash Royale team, which we've had a lot of competitive success. We've had teams that have just come out and kicked butt. We're still waiting on our very first title, but we did get the finals last year, and really proud of how we performed this year as well. But what I'm most proud of actually is just the culture of the team. And this may just sound a bit, cheesy and stuff, but we just have guys that work together so well. They're humble, they have high character. When I listen to them actually talk about the game and strategize and have that back and forth, it's just a beautiful thing to me. So that's what I'm ultimately most proud of, is the culture of the teams that we have. So looking forward, that's obviously a question I could take a lot of different ways, because this scene is going to have an incredible growth over the next few years in a lot of different ways. I think personally, what I want to make my mission is how to help bridge the mobile esports industry with the broader esports industry, and break down that stigma and create things that really show what mobile esports is all about. And that's something that just really gets me fired up. So I think that's what I'm personally most excited for.
With many new games coming out later this year, such as Call of Duty Mobile and the hint of League of Legends Mobile possibly coming out maybe later this year or next, Matt breaks down what he feels is important when looking into venturing into new games and platforms.
For new mobile esports games, I look for three things. First of all, it obviously has to be a good game for competition, right? There are games that just lend for RNG or randomness that, you need to have skill prevail most often than not. Secondly, it's got to be a good game for casual players, because you need to have the raw downloads and player base to be able to support the esports ecosystem. You need eyeballs, basically, because that fuels the whole industry. But third, it's got to have this X factor. That's the best way I can describe it. It's just got to have something else to inspire people to download the game and play it. Because the fact is, now there's so many mobile games that are amazing, more now than ever. So what is unique about this one that's going to get people to download it? And yeah, I think League of Legends IP could definitely do that. I think that good mobile esports will succeed one way or another, and we kind of saw that in the early stages of Clash Royale, where there was a period of a year and a half, 2 years almost, where everything was community driven, but people just came together and organized stuff, and a lot of people participated in it because they love competition. So things like that will naturally develop, but obviously to reach the peak of what it could be, you need developer support. But yeah, I think that mobile esports is in a large part inevitable. What I look for from my perspective, I think most importantly is just the ability to learn, because in mobile esports especially, where competition is completely new, you don't necessarily want just the best player at the beginning of the league, but you want someone that's going to win consistently throughout the year and ultimately win a championship. So they need to be able to grow over time. And what I've found as well in these competitions is that the only sustainable advantage that you can have as a player or as an organization is the ability to learn faster than your competition, because people are going to pick up on your tricks. If there's some card combination or a deck in Clash Royale, or some unique strategy that you've got in a Battle Royale game, they're going to see that and adapt to it. So you need to be able to stay ahead of the meta and push the meta to places that nobody's gone to before. So certainly the ability to learn is very important. So one thing about mobile esports that I think is really unique, and is going to be a big driving factor for ultimately the success of the industry, is just how accessible this platform is and how much it fits into people's lifestyles. Because gaming nowadays in the 21st century is a lifestyle. You have people that play the game for hours a day, who go out and follow the celebrities and the players in that game, and tune into esports because they love the competition and love the stories that the industry creates. But the accessibility is such a huge part, and it's something that honestly I think mobile does better than any other platform, because everybody nowadays has got a phone that they can play mobile games on. If you're watching this video, I bet you either are watching this on mobile or you've got a mobile phone within arm's reach, and that's just society nowadays. So the fact that we can now turn that into a sustainable mobile esports industry is just so exciting to me. But it's something that we still need to do work in the West here to really fully develop and cultivate. But I think that accessibility is something that is going to cause mobile esports to have a higher ceiling. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was absolutely a blast. Legacy, thanks for having me on. If you guys are watching this and want to get in contact with me, please connect on Twitter. I'm @themobilemat. You can also reach me with business inquiries. My email is matt@mobileesportslab.com. If you want to connect with the companies as well, it's @the Esports Lab and @Swipe Gear.
One thing is definitely certain, that Mobile Matt has been a pioneer within the mobile esports industry. Thank you for being on the show, Matt, and I hope you guys enjoyed this interview and documentary. I am Legacy, saying peace.